You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult in finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you. No questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading.
Oh, sorry about that. Nakamute pala ako. Um, hey guys, welcome back to the show. 8 p.m. Thursday night. We are on every day, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. I came from a long day, so sorry if I'm gonna be a little bit slow right now. We shot the first day of NAS Academy, and I'll be teaching SEO there. So for those of you who are interested in learning SEO, the SEO Hacker Way, it's going to be out hopefully by April or May. Best case would be March, but we just shot the first day today, and the other half of the course is going to be shot tomorrow. So it's really a very tiring week for me. But you could join the waitlist now if you want. You just need to enter your email address, and we will have you on the waitlist. And I am super excited for this course because I teach all the fundamentals of SEO there. And NAS Academy has been a fantastic platform for creators like me to teach what we know to people who really want to learn. We also have new episodes in the Leadership Stack podcast. Let me just pull that up for you so that I can share my screen with you guys. Maybe you missed some episodes, and I'm going to go ahead and run you by it right now. We have published the rest of the episodes on vigil on expertise. So Barry is Mr. Alan Barry is someone who talks about expertise. Why is expertise important? Why do we need to learn it? Why do we need to be an expert in our field? This is a good 4 episode podcast, and per episode, it's not going to be too long. And we have how the expert build experts build their confidence, is being proficient enough, why curiosity makes one an expert. That's a very good episode right there, and how to improve your leadership expertise. And then we have Miss Tony Aquino for this week, Feb 15 to 17. We've published 3 episodes with her so far, and that's going to be about US stocks, investment, and financial health, how it impacts your well being, and is it worth investing in self improvement, and why. So these are our new episodes. If you haven't tuned in the podcast, you might want to check these out if you missed them. And if you're not following us, please do follow the Leadership Stack podcast on Spotify. If you are more of a visual learner, we have these same episodes published on YouTube. And the YouTube link is going to be linked down there by Lara. And you could follow us on YouTube as well. So the YouTube URL is leadme.ph/YouTube. That is how you're going to be following us there. We do have some questions tonight. Not a lot of questions though, so maybe we'll finish early and I get to rest earlier as well tonight. But for those of you who may have questions, you may have some trouble in business right now, problems with business, with your people, with your hires, with people resigning, with someone you need to let go or fire, just leave your questions in the Discord channel, which is scrolling down below from the chan.c/discord, or you can also leave your questions in the Facebook group, the Leadership Stack Facebook group, or in YouTube. There you go. You could leave your questions on YouTube and we will be able to get to them, read them, add them to the questions list, and I'll be able to answer them live tonight. So we're going to go for our first question. And that's going to be from V. Can you tell us the story of when you decided you wanted to become a leader? That story is going to be non-existent because I was thrusted into leadership roles early on, and I knew that I needed to be a leader. I wouldn't say that I wanted to become a leader because I'm an introvert, especially during my grade school and high school years. I would not take leadership roles. I did not want to be a leader during those days. I was an introvert. I kept to myself. I was a little bit weird, eccentric, and I couldn't really say that I wanted to be a leader. That's not something that I aspired to be, but I knew that I had to be a leader if I wanted to leave a mark, make a dent in the universe. And so at an early age, I think I was 12 years old, I picked up a book by John Maxwell called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. One of the very first self help books that I've ever read in my life. And I studied the 21 laws. They have a new version now. They update this book every so often. But I got one of the very first versions of that book, and I was mesmerized about how important leadership is. And I was also burdened about how heavy leadership is. It is very, very tough. The laws there, a lot of them are well nigh impossible for someone to be able to follow, especially a 12-year-old Sean, right? It was like a fairy tale when I was reading that book. But I knew that someday I'm going to be facing the real world. I'm going to be facing challenges and problems. I might be able to lead my own team in the marketplace. So I read that book and I practice it as much as I can. And I kept it in mind. I've read that book over 3-4 times now. And without that book, I wouldn't be the leader that I am today. So I'd say that it's more of preparing to be a leader rather than me deciding that I want to be a leader. You don't just decide that you want to be a leader. You're usually thrust into that position. When you look back in history, the greatest leaders of our history, the greatest leaders of their time, like Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who led the revolution for equality of race in the U.S. In the U.S. of A. you could see that they were thrust in a point in history where they needed to stand up and step up, and people were attracted to them because they listened and they actually spoke what needed to be spoken during that time. When Martin Luther King Jr. spoke against racism and inequality based on the color of your skin, a lot of people who were like him and also who were not like him, a lot of white colored people actually went to a lot of his talks. That's because he was saying something that needed to be spoken. And I could argue we are actually in that time here today in our country, especially here in the Philippines, when election season is coming. And not a lot of people are speaking the words that need to be spoken. And those who do are not being heard as much. And it is because there's a lot of hate being thrown around. There's a lot of darkness being thrown around. There's a lot of mud being thrown around. There's a saying: if you throw mud at others, you lose ground. When you throw mud at others, you lose ground. And you can't really drive out darkness and can't really drive out hate by throwing more hate to the equation. You can only drive out hate and darkness by throwing in light and love. And right now in our country, we do need that light and we do need that love. I do believe that if we are able to set differences aside and just learn to love and serve each other, then whoever would be sitting on the throne in Malacanang would not matter as much, as a country. I feel like it would matter more if we just learn to love and serve each other as fellow Filipinos, rather than caring too much about who sits on the throne and putting our putting our hopes and dreams, behind who's going to be sitting on the presidential throne. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I'm sure you have yours, but I would like to see this country definitely love and serve each other more. And with that, we do need leaders to be able to do that, because it's not easy to do that, especially with other people who would throw mud at you and throw hate at you. But that's why we have this podcast. It's in the hopes of raising up more leaders here in our country, because I do believe that the path to change this country is not to vote for the right leader. It's actually to raise up more and better leaders in our country. That is what I believe. So I hope that helps. I know I did segue a little bit from the question, but I hope that helps shed light to your question, V. Do you have any books on leadership you read when you were just starting out? Yep. So I mentioned that The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by Dr. John Maxwell. Really good read, really easy read, and you will be able to learn a lot when you open that book and read it for the first time. How did you decide what kind of leader you wanted to be? I really, this is something that a lot of people get mixed up. You don't really decide what kind of leader you want to be. You lead with what you have and what you know. So before a boxer gets into the ring, he should practice a lot, and he should work out and he should prepare, so that when he actually needs to challenge someone, or when he is actually in the ring fighting with someone, it's all instinct. You don't have the time to process and think when you're in the ring boxing with someone. Instinct takes over. There's not a lot of time for you to think. You lead by how you lead. That's it. You fight by how you fight. That's it. There's not much thinking, not much wiggle room for you to do that. So you become a leader by preparing yourself to be one. You read books, you listen to podcasts, you get mentors, you practice leadership, you influence other people, you make yourself a better person, you make sure that who you are in private is the same as who you are in public. And that is going to make you a better leader over time, so that when the time comes, when you are called by history to rise up and finally be the voice of the people and be the leader you were called to be, you will be ready then. That matters more than deciding what kind of leader you want to be. You don't decide. You are you are going to be the leader that you're going to be based on how much you prepare. That matters more. What was your leadership journey linear? Um, yes and no. Yes, because we do have 24 hours a day and time goes on, time ticks on. So it's linear in that way where it's just, we all get older. We all have only one moment in life. And it's not linear because problems happen simultaneously and you do have to deal with them. You do have to juggle problems simultaneously. But at the same time, you got to realize what percent of the problem can I really act on and decide on, and what percent of the problem do I have no control whatsoever. Because usually as entrepreneurs or as leaders, we try to affect the problem 100%. The fact of the matter is we only have 10% say, or we only have 10% decision to affect the problem with our solution. 90% of it we cannot affect. So I'm going to give you an example. If we have a problem with a client who is not happy with our work, this is just an example. How I can affect it is by calling the client and telling my people do a better job at it, and by checking the work. That's it. But how my people are going to react to what I say, if they're going to actually follow and make their output better, if my client is actually going to be appeased and happy with the words I'm going to be saying to him or her, or with the back pay or the refund, or the promise of a better work output, whether they are going to be happy with it or not, I don't control that. You see, 90% of the time we don't control the results of our solutions to the problem. And so my leadership journey, I wouldn't really consider it simple and linear. It's so trivial when you say, is it linear? Is it like from point A to point B? I can't really tell you that it's from point A to point B, because there's so many things, and these are very important experiences that help me develop myself to be a better leader. I've gone through some of the worst times, hired some of the worst, nastiest people ever that I could ever imagine hiring, and they did a lot of damage to the brand, to SEO Hacker. I've gone through a lot, and that helped me become a better leader, a leader that I would say I'm happy to be today. But I know I do have a lot of things to improve yet. But the good thing about it is I do have people around me who have the guts to tell me what's wrong with me, and so I can consciously improve on these things. I pray about it, I ask counsel, and I improve these things. And that makes me a much better leader, because the worst leader is someone who is blindsided by his or her weaknesses, and it gets worse over time. That is really one leader you wouldn't want to follow. So I hope that kind of answers your question. It's a tough, open ended question. But basically, it's linear in a way that time goes on, you get better, you learn if you evaluate the experience and your mistakes. But it's not linear in a way that some problems come simultaneously. There's going to be easy times, there's going to be very tough times, then there's going to be those insane times where you either break or you grow tremendously. So I hope that helps. And the next question: do you follow a strict daily routine that you knew would help you become the leader you are today? Not really. Contrary to what people think, I actually didn't have much of a routine until this year. I have a better routine this year, but I'm still trying to tweak and improve it. But since I started SEO Hacker way back 2010, I wouldn't say I had a routine that I stuck to. So I'm usually flexible. And I think if you are a startup entrepreneur, I don't think you're going to have a routine, because clients call you at the middle of the night, clients call you at the early onset of the morning before the sun goes up. You're not going to have a good routine when that happens. And sometimes you need to meet clients who are going to ask you to go out for a drink, and you show them a good time, wholesome good time, of course. But still, that ends up being late, around midnight or 1 a.m. And then I'd go home. I'd be very tired. And so I couldn't wake up as early as I'd like to be. It's going to be very difficult for an entrepreneur to have that routine when you're starting up. And I know that SEO Hacker is 11 years old, but hey, we're just 11 years old. My startup years, my first 5 years, I couldn't possibly have a routine. And when I started scaling it up on the sixth, seventh, eighth year, I was also studying how do I scale this business up in such a way where in the soonest possible time it can work on its own without me being there hands on, because that's gonna take a lot of money, capital. That's gonna mean that the business is generating X amount of revenue so that I can hire A players who are, have a higher pay grade. That's gonna mean that I would need to give back to my people in the team in a way where they're gonna love whatever benefits they're getting. They're gonna love their pay grade. They're gonna be staying long term. They're gonna love the journey of being an SEO hacker. All of these things are not easy and would demand so much time. So, routines are something that I actually didn't have until this year. And that's me trying to cheat because this year just started. So, I really couldn't say that I have a solid routine right now. So, it is possible for you to not have a routine and still find success somewhere along the way as an entrepreneur. It is. You just have to have the discipline to do the things that matter. Do the things that matter. I hope that helps. And I hope that enlightens some of you who are thinking, oh no, I have to have a routine. Otherwise, I would never be successful. That is not true. For me, I didn't have a routine until this year. What kind of belief system is necessary for one to undertake a leadership journey? Well, number one, you have to believe that you don't know it all, that you have a lot to learn, and that you are not perfect. In fact, you have to believe that most of the time, you're the idiot. That's really the mindset that I have. Most of the time, I don't know stuff. Most of the time, I'm the idiot in the room. And that makes me very open to learn from other people. I don't care where they are in their walk in life. I don't care if they're financially less successful. I don't care if they're financially more successful. What I want to do is to be able to learn from them. So I ask questions. If you're too proud to ask questions, I don't think you're going to be much of a leader because there's not going to be much in you to give away. Remember, we can only give away what we have. And if you don't have that humility to learn from others, then you're not going to be able to give away and teach a lot of things to people who might want to follow you. And if no one's following you, then you're not really leading, you're just taking a walk. That is not leadership. So I do think that having the belief that you're the idiot in the room helped me out a lot in my leadership journey, because I would just really consume anything that I could learn from anyone in all walks of life. That has helped me out tremendously. If you're asking me for a belief system in terms of faith, I would encourage you to look into the faith that I have. I'm a born again Christian. I do respect all faith, whatever faith you have in whatever religion you might have. I respect that, but I'm a born again Christian. So this is what I'm sharing. I do believe that if you have the same faith that I do in God and you read the Bible, you pray to Him every day, that's going to help you tremendously in your leadership journey. Because with what I mentioned earlier, we do not control so many things in our lives. And as an entrepreneur, you just have the tendency to worry and be anxious about what tomorrow has. And the Bible helps a lot in that aspect, because there's a verse in the Bible where Jesus says, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. I'm paraphrasing this for you. And he adds to that, who among you can add another hour to his life by worrying? We can't even add an hour to our lives by doing anything or doing whatever we want. Nothing can help us to add another hour of our life. And if you worry, you actually subtract from that, because studies show that worrying causes stress. Stress causes us to release cortisol, and it's just bad for us. We shorten our lives by worrying. Jesus also begins to explain that look at the birds of the air. They don't sow, they don't reap, they don't harvest, they don't store their food in the ref or in the barn, and yet God feeds them. They're, they're fed. They're alive, they fly, God takes care of them. And if a Maya bird or, a pigeon costs, I don't know, 100 pesos, how much more valuable are you and I? We cost a lot more. And God cares for you and me a lot more. God will take care of us. So having this kind of mindset as an entrepreneur helped me tremendously. And I could lead better because I have more spirit in me. And I could pass that on better to my people. So I would say my belief system, being a Christian, knowing God, loving Him, following Him, that helped me a lot. And I hope that would help you a lot as well. Okay. Next question. Oh, hello, Ron. Shout out to Ron. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the show tonight. Again, I'm a bit tired, bit spent. Had a whole day with the NAS Academy team and their director and video camera crew. We shot since 9 a.m. earlier and pretty darn spent right now. And we're going to do it again tomorrow. So I plan to rest early tonight. But yeah, if you have questions, I'd be honored and I'd like to answer them and address them. So the next question is, have you seen different kinds of leadership journeys? How did you know what works for you? I have. Actually, all leadership journeys are different. So how I grew to lead SEO Hacker as its CEO and founder is going to be different from how someone else in another digital marketing company is going to be leading and growing their company. I know a lot of CEOs. Steve C, for example, the CEO of Great Deals. I've met him when he didn't have great deals before, when he was still selling USB cards and various other items. And I saw how great he has become as a leader. I've seen it and it is amazing. And I saw God's hand with him. And his journey is very, very different because his startup story is very different. He has investors. He now has venture capitalists come in and he has to grow his business in a way where it's just exploding. But with me and SEO Hacker, we don't have investors. We're a bootstrapped company. I started it with 1,300 pesos and grew it now to a multi-million peso company. So how I'm leading it is very, very different from how Steve is leading his company. All leadership journeys are different. There is no one exact same leadership journey. How did I know what works for me? I just try to be the best leader I can. I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know what would work, but I know what I had. And I know that I had to grow. And I know that I had to invest in myself and invest in my spirit, invest in my knowledge of leadership, invest in my expertise in running the business, have that discipline to be the best worker in my team, produce the most output, inspire people. I knew these things. So I just knew what I knew. I didn't know that, oh, this is going to work. Oh, that's not going to work. I just knew what I knew and I strived on becoming better and better as a leader. And that is what I used to lead my people. Again, I didn't know what works for me, but the combination of my spiritual walk, my growth, reading books, listening to podcasts, getting mentors, asking them questions, asking so many questions to so many different people, that worked very well for me. And I hope that would help you out as well and work well for you as well. Can you become a leader even if you're just starting out as an employee? I believe everyone is a leader. Everyone. The moment that you wake up, you got to lead yourself out of the bed. That is the hardest thing to do, to lead yourself. Because we become complacent, we become comfortable. And don't we want that, to be comfortable? That is sometimes our goal. But the thing about comfort is you don't grow, you're not challenged, you become stagnant, your leadership fades, loses its sharpness. And So the hardest person to lead is yourself. And if you're able to tell yourself to get out of bed earlier than you would like, then that is already a good amount of leadership practiced. Everyone is a leader. That is what I believe in. And that is why we're doing this as well, to improve that leadership skill. So that someday, when you're actually given the baton and the chance to lead other people in your team or organization, you are already a much better leader than you are going to be if you did not tune in, if you did not listen to the advice we give, the books we tell you to read, and so on. So yeah, definitely 100% my answer to this question is yes. Okay, next question. Do you have any leaders you look up to and why do you look up to them? I have a lot of leaders that I look up to. So I mentioned Dr. John Maxwell, who wrote that book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I look up to that guy a lot. His life is a tremendous influence, not just to me, but to a lot of leaders in the world. And that is why he is the number one authority in leadership today. I look up to my mentor for 7 years, Pastor Dennis C., without whom I do believe I'd be a lost soul right now and I wouldn't be here speaking with you. He is my spiritual father, and he pulled me out from very dark time in my life, and I've learned to walk with the Lord much better because of him. And up to today, he is still leading and challenging himself, and he is an inspiration to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people. I look up to Patrick Lencioni, wrote a lot of books about organizational health. I follow his stuff. I look up to Seth Godin. He's a thought leader in marketing in the US and the rest of the world. A lot of people have read his book. Malcolm Gladwell, someone I read, someone I look up to. Jim Collins, someone I read and look up to. Dave Ramsey and his team in EntreLeadership, someone I look up to and follow. There are a lot of people and leaders that I look up to. CEO of Santi Barley, Joey Marcello, I look up to him. I ask him questions. One of my mentors, um, Miss Anna Tatlonghari, who is the CEO of Ayala Land International. I look up to her. I ask her questions. She's one of my mentors as well. There's so many people. I can't even complete the list because that's going to take hours and hours of our time here, and I don't want to bore you as well. But there's just so many people who have helped me out, whether in the flesh or through their books and podcasts. And yeah, I hope that you got some of those names and start to follow them too, because they will help you out tremendously in your life. Okay, next question from Pam. When and how did you realize that you wanted to become a leader? I think this is very similar to the first question, where I answered that I actually didn't know. You just don't know. When history gives you that challenge and call, either you rise up and accept that challenge and you become the leader that you are called to be, like Mahatma Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or you become, some unknown name in history. That's what I believe happens during the call for leadership. You either rise up or you fade out. That's it. How do you establish yourself as a leader? I think that you don't really establish yourself. If you have people following you, then that validates your leadership. When they follow you out of their own volition, not because of your position, that establishes you as a leader. So it would largely depend on people following you on their own volition, and not that they do have to follow you because you're their boss. When that happens, when they're following you because they want to, then I think that establishes you as their leader. What are ways to develop young leaders? Encourage them, give them vision, tell them this is the potential future that you're going to be having in your life. and then involve what they are doing alongside you with them. So, for example, with my leaders in the team, what I tell them is, this is where SEO Hacker is going. This is where you are. And I believe that you can be this, and that. And I want to be part of your dream life, the life you've dreamed of. And this is my vision for you. What's your vision for yourself? Let's try to marry those together, see what we can do, and see how far we can go. When you have those things, that's very encouraging to young leaders, especially those people who are driven but may not have that big of a vision or that far of a vision. When you give them your vision about themselves and about how you can fit into that and how they can be helped by you and what you do in your company, that gives them the fuel and energy to become bigger than who they are. And a lot of people do need that today, because what's circulating around the internet are full of hate, depression, anxiety, problems. It's discouraging. So when people are encouraged, that matters a lot. Ron says you look healthy, lol. Yeah. Thanks, Ron. I don't know if that means I look healthy or I'm getting fatter. But yeah, I'm gonna take it as a compliment. Thanks so much. What are effective ways leaders can do to support other leaders? Encourage other leaders. Leaders carry a heavy burden. Remember, when you're leading other people, they look at you, and you have to live a life of integrity. And that means that your walk is so much heavier and so much more important now that you're a leader, now that you got followers, now that other people are looking at you. And your accountability to yourself and to them is much heavier. And so I think one of the best things that leaders can do to support other leaders is to encourage them. Tell them that I understand what you're going through. Listen to them, listen to their problems, provide some advice or solutions if you can. But what leaders really need to do is encourage other leaders. It is tiring, especially to lead here in this country. It is tiring. The best thing you can do is encourage your leaders. Even if you're not a leader, even if you're a team player, or you see yourself and you say, I'm just an employee, when you encourage your leader, that does a whole lot for them. Baka sabihin niya nagpaparinig ako, hindi ako nagpaparinig. My wife always encourages and appreciates me. And that's enough. What has been one of your biggest joys as a leader? I think my biggest joy would be when I see my people actually taking up the mantle to lead. So, one of the people that I have with me up to right now, here right now, helping me with the show is Lara. And Lara was a very shy person. And I know she's listening now because she's the one manning this show. She's the tech person behind the show right now, and she's our editor as well. And when Lara started out with me, she'd be very shy. Whenever I would enter the office, she wouldn't even greet me. She would just keep to her computer, keep her head down, and the other people in the room would say she would start trembling. I don't know. I haven't seen that, and I don't think that's true, but that's what they told me. And right now, guess what? Lara is our director of the Leadership Stack podcast. And I have been able to let go of a lot of my work in Leadership Stack. I am simply the talent right now. And that's it. I have been able to delegate a lot of things because Lara is the one in charge. And her leading the team, that is one of the biggest joys that I have, to be honest. It's not, at the end of the day, I don't think about how much we make, how much money we're making, or how much we've grown in terms of revenue. That's fun. That's fun. That's great. I can provide for more people, create more jobs, help the economy. But the one that gives me the most joy would be seeing people in my team rise up from where they are to be really good leaders. That gives me so much joy. Yeah. So I hope you could tell by the way I'm smiling that it is the truth. Ron says no sarcasm. Thanks, Ron. I take it as a compliment, sabi ko nga kanina. So really appreciate that and really appreciate that you're here. And that is going to be the last question. What are your biggest? Yeah, that's going to be the last question. So for those of you who have tuned in a little bit later, I just want you to know that my course in NAS Academy is coming out. That's going to be about SEO. So for those of you who are interested in how to manipulate search results and how to rank #1 in Google, what you can do right now is join the waitlist. The price of the course is not yet final, it's not yet out. So we will definitely email you when my course is out. This is going to be a global course. We are launching this worldwide, and I'm speaking straight English throughout the course. And I do have examples and I do have activities and quizzes there for you to learn SEO Hacker in a hands on, more applicable way. And you keep learning through 7 days with me, and I will be with you all the way to graduation. If you're interested, you want to join this course, join the waitlist now. If you know someone who might be interested, please do share the link with them. That's nasacademy.com/SEO-hacker, or simply search in Google NAS Academy SEO Hacker. You'll be able to find this landing page. So I hope that helps. Again, we are Leadership Stack Podcast. We are on Spotify. If you haven't followed us there, please do follow us there and please do help share it. And if you're more of a visual learner, please do subscribe to us on YouTube. We release episodes every week, and we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. Hopefully this year. Please do help by sharing our show as well. Again, this is Leadership Stack. Next Thursday, though, we would not have an AMA because I wouldn't be here. And we're taking a break, and we would be resuming Leadership Stack Live already the week after next. That's going to be the first week of March. I hope this episode has given value to you. And if you have learned something, please do help share and tune in on the next Leadership Stack Live on the first Thursday of March, 8 p.m. Take care and God bless.